How do you feel when your faith or elements of your faith or religion or your God is taken by an artist and reinterpret or portray that element of your faith or religion or that God or your God and portray them in a radical way? There's a lot of artists, Asian artists, that have done that. They would take in the an element of a religion or a known image or an accepted image of your God, and they will portray them in a radical way. For example, somebody will take in the image of Buddha and will take that Buddha and will make that Buddha sexy. So most often than not, these artists are actually met with controversy. They're castigated for it. They're criticized for it. Most often than not, their installations or exhibits are taken down. A lot of negative publicity and stuff like that. So what is your stand on that? Are you okay with that? So since I'm asking, I should also say my own opinion. I have my own faith. I'm not going to discuss what that is, but I do have my own faith, and I've seen a lot of paintings. I've read a lot of poetries, movies, TV shows that have reinterpreted my faith and the different elements of my faith, including the God that I believe in. And that is okay for me because I'm very, very confident with my faith. So no matter what you show, no matter what you do, no matter the question that you post, I'm okay because I'm very confident with what I believe in. Now, others may not feel, you may not feel the same way. Now, here are 5 of the most controversial artists in Asia that have used different elements of a religion or gods of a religion and portrayed them in a radical way. So I will explain their work, the reasoning or the logic or the idea behind the work and what happened to them. And then in the end, I would be happy to hear your thoughts in what they have done and just your personal stance on that. One is Manish Harijan, and they call him MF Husain. He had an exhibit in Kathmandu, and one of the most controversial paintings is that of the Hindu god Kali wearing a superwoman costume showing the dirty finger. Cops actually came in asking about MF Husain, and MF Husain at that time thought that they were kidding. He laughed until he realized they were actually serious. So he was reported because the Hindu organizations at the time, they were actually quite influential, and they didn't like what they did to their god, and so they reported him. Next is Mido Cruz from the Philippines. He had an art installation called Politismo, and it was actually installed in the cultural center of the Philippines, often considered to be one of the most important cultural artistic hubs in the country. And it was so controversial, they actually asked that he put it down. So it is actually a collage. It's an art installation, and it was a collage of the different pop icons and the image of God. But there is because it's an art installation, on the face of one image of what the Catholics usually use to portray Jesus Christ, there was a penis that was on his face. And so it was considered a blasphemy. It created a huge controversy in the Philippines, which ended up with him being asked to take it down. Well, the CCP, the Cultural Center of the Philippines, was actually asked to take the installation down. Now, in his defense, he said that he intended Politismo, which is the title of that installation. He said he intended it to provoke people into thinking. He titled it Politismo, which loosely translates into many beliefs or many deities. Throughout history, humanity has grown to create new gods, and these are not always religious figures but concepts and objects. Some have taken to worshiping money, some politics as God sends. Some see politicians as God sent. People create idols and these idols, whether or not they're deserving of the idolatry or worship, affect our lives and how we function and see the world. So that is the reason he put the traditional image of Jesus Christ for the Catholics side by side, different pop icons, but because he thinks that people are just worshiping these pop figures as gods, and he's not okay with it. That's why he did it. Next is a Thai student. He portrayed Buddha in different superhero costumes, and he said that the reason, sorry for my dog, but he's communicating to another dog who's barking, and it's like a block away. So this student actually portrayed Buddha in different superhero costumes, and he said he did that because he feels like a lot of people are so enamored by Marvel superheroes, Disney superheroes, and they consider those their heroes when in fact Buddha is the original superhero. He simply wanted to portray Buddha in a way that's more relatable and easy to conceive by the younger generation. Now, after he got so many complaints, it was actually taken out. So it was taken down. They put a stop to the exhibit, and all of his paintings were taken out. However, after that, there was one buyer who said that he was actually able to purchase one of the paintings for like $1 million or something like that. Now, next is Sun Yuan and Peng Yu. Now, these two artists are very controversial, primarily because of the materials, the choice of materials they have used in some of their past artworks. They've used human fat and dead babies. They've actually used dead babies. Now, the latest installation that they had is actually of a fallen old angel. They put it, I think, in the middle of Beijing or something. And it became, so if you look at the angel closely, he's very, very old and he's dead and he just fell. They used fiberglass or something. It became very controversial because China is not a Christian country, and the use of angel is highly identified with the Christian religion. Last is Zhong Juan. He's a Chinese artist, and he thrives on portraying gods into human form. So he puts humanity in different gods. His favorite is Buddha. One of his most popular installation is it was actually in Chicago. I think the installation has the piece has 3 heads. So it's Buddha, but there are 3 heads and there are 3 human heads. And he says that he did it, that the idea behind it is that everyone has Buddha in them, in us. So you're Buddha, I'm Buddha. We're all God. The God, Buddha is in all of us. And so that's where the idea of replacing Buddha head with human head came from. And he has done this repeatedly. He would portray different gods doing ordinary human things, eating, sleeping, pooping, stuff like that. So a lot of people criticizes Zhong Juan for using exclusively the shock value to call attention to his art. Now, he's saying that the shock value is coming from the idea and not from a superficial level. A lot of us, whatever our faith may be, we believe that our God is perfect and that they are not humans, of course, and so they do away with human needs. For example, they don't need to sleep because our physical body, our human body, is the one that needs sleep, and that's why we sleep. We need to eat because our human body is programmed that way. But our gods, because they're perfect and that they're God, they do not need to do those things. But he prefers to sort of take the God down to the level of human beings for us to be for them to be more relatable. He feels like the more we put our God into a pedestal, the more distant we feel, the more detached we feel, and so the less we become faithful. But once we think of them in a way that we understand, then it becomes more relatable, it becomes more relevant for us. And that's where the shock value is coming from, not from a superficial, juvenile, I just want to be controversial level. It's how he thinks of them that makes it controversial and that makes it shocking. So now the question is, are you okay when your faith, your God, your tradition is reinterpreted like that? Or do you want to, or are you want to keep within what you know should be done? You don't like modernity, you don't feel that modernizing the interpretation of your faith, your religion, and your God is necessary.